Hey everyone, this is Scott from Forgot to Grow Up. Welcome to our Star Trek Picard Season 1 Episode 8 Thoughts video. I just finished watching the latest episode of Star Trek Picard and I'm just going to be sharing my general thoughts on the episode. I will be getting into spoilers for the episode, obviously. So this episode we start off with a flashback that gives us a little bit more information about why this Romulan secret society wants to stop synthetic life. So it was a cool little flashback like we've gotten in all the episodes at the beginning of Commodore O and this small group whose name I'm not going to try to pronounce, but it's a group and one of them is Norik's sister whose name I still haven't figured out, but there's this group in this flashback, and Commodore O is telling us about this prophecy that the Romulans have discovered, and she ends up showing this prophecy to all these different members, and the only one to kind of come out of it with her sanity was Norik's sister. So that was kind of fun to get a little bit of background information on this, a little bit more why they have such a problem with synthetic life and what it is. And it's that there's this prophecy. They're like 200,000 years ago, guys, shit went down and we don't want it to happen again. So we're going to kill them all. And it's like, oh, okay, I kind of think I don't want to say it's a reasonable reason, but it is a good reason, at least for why they would be going through all this trouble to, set up the Mars attack, which we kind of learn in this. We kind of get confirmation in a sense because we've already kind of known that, but or I guess the crew actually gets confirmation more in this of particularly Raffi, who kind of spends this episode kind of between dealing with figuring out the secret of Rios, which ends up tying into her whole conspiracy thing with the attack on Mars and the synths, and it's a whole thing, and we end up getting a whole cool scene. I am jumping around a little bit, but we get this whole cool scene where everybody sits down and they explain exactly what's been going on, and yes, it's a little bit, but it's the only way for all the, members to get their separate information into, all our different crew members, Picard and Raffi and Rios and all them all getting onto the same page. This episode was really fun because we spend a whole lot of it kind of diving into this kind of what we think is almost like Rios has this weird reaction to. I'm so all over the place with my thoughts, so sorry for that. So Rios has this weird reaction to Soji at first, and so we spend a lot of the episode with Raffi trying to figure out what was this reaction. It ends up tying into this, mission that he did when he was part of Starfleet, which I'm like, did I miss that when we were introduced to the character? It was always part of his character that did they mention before that he used to be part of Starfleet? I couldn't remember that, but that was kind of a new thing for me to learn about Rios. But yes, during his time at Starfleet, the captain who he was, under his whose command he was under, had this mission they made first contact, and then that mission ended up turning into the captain killing two of the members of this species they met, and it turns out that one of them looked like Soji, and then we find out through the whole thing that they were just synths as well, and that there's this whole conspiracy with the Commander O, or Commodore O, has pretty much been orchestrating throughout Starfleet, and through setting up the synth attack and setting up all the subsequent attacks and things like that. So this episode had just a lot of information dumped onto us, but it was still really. I enjoyed the way they went about it, us kind of learning more about Rios through through the use of his 5 holograms, all with different accents, but are all a part or a broken part of him, as Raffi kind of refers to them. And so that was just fun as a way to kind of discover this a little bit more about Rios's character, while also kind of progressing the plot forward in a sense, or progressing the mystery that they've been investigating forward a little bit or more, moving it forward, and so I like the way they kind of they're able to tie those two stories in. What else do we have in this episode? So another side thing. So the crew is all dealing with that and trying to get to Soji's home planet in order to save hopefully her fellow family of other synthetics from the Romulans, and so while they're doing that, we also have Elnor. I always get his name wrong. But on the Borg cube still, and he called for help. And last episode, I forgot who the but the little signal he activated, the beacon. That's the word I was looking for. The little beacon he activated, which I completely forgot that it was 7 and 9 who gave that to him. So I'm glad that they started off this episode with a little flash of reminding me about that with the the previously on kind of flashes at the beginning of the episode. So I had forgotten about that, but then it was fun to realize at the beginning of the episode and then seeing 7 and 9 coming to the Borg, saying "saving Unor," and then kicking some ass. I don't want to say, maybe I guess kicking ass is a part of a good way to put it, but she ends up connecting herself to the Borg cube and reactivating it so to start repairing it so that she quote unquote can steal it, and she ends up even connecting to the Borgs that were still, or the former Borg that were part of the cube that are still in the cube in order to try and save them, but then the Romulans jettisoned them all, and so I guess she wasn't able to save them. That's the part that was a little like, there's no way to get them back in. Are they? I'm not an expert on these kind of things. I'm just like, there's a lot of them. They couldn't link arms. Is that the question? I'm not sure. But that was just a really interesting thing to see. 7 and 9 connecting into the Borg cube, talking about how she didn't want to necessarily do that because she was worried that she wouldn't want to let it go. She'd want to stay as a Borg, stay as part of the Borg and as the collective. But then we see that obviously she was able to release the control of the Borg of connection to the Borg cube, and that's kind of where we leave them at that point, with all the Romulans having left the Borg cube in order to head to the Synthetics' home planet. So it seems like in the next couple episodes we're gonna have a lot of battles going on, or at least a big kind of showdown coming up on the Synthetic planet. So it'll be interesting to see whether which side Starfleet ends up being on, whether they continue their anti-synth side or if they're going to be with the Romulans or not. So yeah, that was really just an interesting kind of two kind of concurrent plots that we got through this episode, and it's just a lot of fun little bits that I enjoyed about it. That's pretty much all the things I had written down for this episode. It was just a really fun episode. I really liked exploring a little bit more in depth into some of the characters, just behind their motivations, some of their histories, particularly Rios. We explore a lot in this one, but then also I like that 7 and 9 also came back. That was fun, and like seeing a little bit more character development for her character. So it was just a fun overall episode, and I really enjoyed it. But what did you guys think of this latest episode of Star Trek Picard? Be sure to let me know in the comments below. Thanks again for joining me today. Subscribe if you haven't already, and have a good one.